What started as a fear became a hobby.
I'm talking about sensational.
I'm glad I make you feel that way.
Hey, this has changed my life, and I think it could change yours.
Learning more every day, that's for sure.
Control that anger because I got super duper heavy into the Bible. Conversations right off the top of the head, it reminds me of like a freestyle and rap.
We'll now start growing agricultural seeds so that they can have enough food.
This is not blaming tactics. We're not blaming anyone. This is problem-solving tactics.
What up, yo? Bang bang. Welcome to my channel. In this episode, I have a multi-millionaire. He proves my theory. Whatever poor people don't want to do, rich people do. It's a fascinating story. Stay till the end to find out more about it and what's his next move. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Foster.
I've never started a company. I buy them.
Oh, you never started from scratch.
I buy.
So, okay, you're good in numbers. Numbers in general are in your head.
Yeah.
And you do insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your insurance situation, like how that whole journey started, when you start making money, but before that, like how...
Yeah. So when I graduated college, I went to a small school, so there weren't a lot of opportunities to get a job in business. So I actually took a job with this insurance company based out of Minnesota, Federated Insurance. And they have a 6-month training program, so I had to move to Minnesota for 6 months, and then move back to Indianapolis. And it was fascinating. At the time, I handled claims, but people always think about insurance as being like boring. Like I drive my car, I have to insure my house, whatever. I was 22 negotiating settlements for people that were in very bad accidents, right? Hurt really bad, or product liability claims or premises liability claim, like always some kind of issue. And I'm negotiating with attorneys. I'm talking to people who have just had their life turned upside down. Like, you had to grow up quick.
So you're doing the bad... Nobody want to do that job.
No.
Everybody want to sell the insurance.
I would never go back into that, ever. It's like, and I eventually became a consultant, and we'll get into that a little bit more, but it's the black hole of an insurance company. It's where the majority of what you pay out, your expenses, are on claims, right? But also, like, insurance is a contract, and there's laws related to what you can pay and what you cannot. And yes, there's obviously ranges and stuff, but people hate insurance because you have to pay for it, but until you need it.
And when you need it, the insurance company makes something. Oh, that's part in the contract.
I disagree with that.
Okay, well, tell me. So the insurance are paying everything off when they have to?
Not always, there's a fundamental issue with insurance, right? And there's two parts, right? The policies are extremely complex. Sometimes they can be thousands of pages, right? When you're talking big insurance. Number two, I think there's a people in our industry that sell insurance. The barrier to entry is so low. So you might have someone who just knows a lot of people, but they don't know what they're selling. And I think that's very common. And it's I'm not trying to knock anybody, but when you don't explain what your people buy, and something happens, it's like, well, what happened? Sometimes the person who sold it doesn't even know that it wasn't in the policy because they don't try to educate themselves or better themselves to understand their products.
They just look for the commission.
Correct.
They want to sell you the product. They don't care what is written down. They know how much they're going to win.
Yep.
And if they sell it quickly, they're going to get money faster.
Correct. And for me, like, I'm fortunate enough now to where I can tell people that want to be customers of mine, hey, if you don't buy this and this, you're not going to be my customer, right? You need this. If you don't want to spend the money, fine, go find somebody else.
So what you starting with claims, and
so
you're dealing
started with
this?
Claims, and then so I moved to Chicago, and I was tired of claims. I was in the field still for a couple months with that same company, but it was just like you said, like you immediately, nobody wants to do that job because this person's complaining, your boss is telling you, hey, don't pay this. Not to screw anybody over, but the merits of the case, based on history, it only deserves this.
Yeah.
I had one time where a lady drank spoiled chocolate milk, okay? our customer was a convenience store, and they said, like, we didn't rotate our stock. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to pay. Oh, and she got sick. But what is that worth, right? This first call with this woman, she was like, I want $50,000. I'm going to the news. I'm like, for puking?
Yeah.
No.
Is it food poison? Yeah.
No, she didn't even get food poisoning. It was just spoiled milk.
Okay.
Funny part of that story is it was like, I got chocolate milk and cheddar popcorn. I'm like, what kind of combination is that?
So she made a combination.
What kind of combination is that? Like, who does that?
Yeah.
So eventually you just have to like let time pass with those people. I think I settled the claim for like $500 or something, but I just couldn't deal with that. Like, oh, I'm entitled to this, I'm entitled to that. It's like, but if somebody was entitled to what they wanted, then insurance companies pay. You know, they really do. But that just wasn't for me. You know, I was more love to network and meet people. So I went from that to actually doing sales and field underwriting for a company that did insurance for nightclubs.
Okay.
That was awesome. But
insurance for nightclubs. So for the people who are in the nightclub,
for the
if they get fight.
Yeah. So like liability insurance and then liquor liability for serving alcohol. Mm-hmm. And it was I think I was like the 15th employee, and I handled the Midwest. It was my first time having a job in the city, although I was traveling, going out, meeting with customers, and gathering a lot of data for our company. And it was awesome, right? I mean, I had hair down to my shoulders. I could go out and expense everything on the company. I would show up at these clubs, not to party, not tell them I'm coming, and just watch, right? Watch where spills were happening and how quickly people were cleaning them up, where security was positioned. And all those things go into factoring.
So you represent the insurance company.
Mm-hmm. I didn't sell the insurance. I was like an underwriter, but I would also handle the sales to the brokers, right? Like what I do now as a broker, I would be our representative with the brokers.
So you literally follow up the contract and making the contract. You're the one who actually see what the insurance can do. I love that.
Yeah.
That's totally different from just sales.
Correct. So that's I fell in love with underwriting, right? Like there's so many, especially in commercial insurance, right? So that company was crazy. Like we had crazy growth. We found out our CEO was manipulating documents and all this crazy stuff. He's in jail now.
Insurance, usually people think it's scam. That's why he's in jail, because he was doing something shady.
Yeah, correct. He was. And
but people who go to insurance usually are not thinking, okay, I'm gonna give back to the society. They think how to take back.
Right. Now his thing was he would, there are times to settle claims and there are times to fight claims, but he would fight everything, right? And so that puts you in a position where you have a lot of legal expenses and all of these reserves for future settlements. But he wanted to go bigger. He wanted to make this acquisition, try to go public. I don't want to go into too many more details, but he ended up on an episode of American Greed, right? So I'm 24. I'm like, I flew on a private jet to Vegas for a nightclub and bar trade show. And I'm like, holy shit. Like I'm living the life. I could build a career here. Was one of the first people, like maybe I'll get stock if we go public. And then one day I get a call from my boss who was out in Maryland. He's like, hey, Steve, you got to stop. The FBI just came in. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what's going to happen? So I left there. I was doing my MBA. There's this certification in insurance. It's not like a license, but it's like a designation you have to study for it. It's called the CPCU. It's a underwriting designation. So I was doing those two things at the time. I took another underwriting job for like a year. But what I had experienced at both underwriting at both of those companies is like, I get it. Like I know data, I understand technology, I understand workflows, right? So I want to get on these projects and help these companies get better. Oh, you're young. You don't know. Are you sure? I don't have 30 years of doing the same shit for 30 years. Like
being a corporate and just
correct.
1/10 of the job.
Correct. So I ended up getting a job at Ernst & Young. EY is what it's called, as a consultant. And it was, there are consultants all over the place, but I would put that practice up, and it's kind of dwindled down. But our practice at EY was led by this amazing woman, Gail McGiffin. Shout out Gail. Like, she's the only person on this planet I will say knows more about insurance than me. Like, I will go toe to toe with anyone, but she would kick my ass. That's it. Just her.
Ernst & Young. Well,
right, from Ernst & Young. But
Ernst &
but she had been a CIO at an insurance company.
Well, that's why she ended up being there, because she's
a
good.
beast. Like a beast.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out Gail. I'm gonna be calling you soon. I'm working on some stuff, but when I interviewed with that woman, she basically gave me all the answers. Like, she just knows everything. And so with her leadership, she brought in kind of, consultants are usually generalists, right? They go project to project. They learn as on the fly. You travel, it's high stress. But our practice, we had like consultants, but then we had like industry people, like people that knew products, that knew underwriting, that knew systems that were specific to insurance. And that getting that job and learning what I learned in that job, my career just took off.
So you were motivated, wild, believing in yourself that you have the ability to do everything they ask you for.
Oh yeah, and I did it, right?
And you did it.
I had my first project. I can't give out too many details on like clients and implementations and stuff like that, but my first project was a tech implementation, first one of its kind in the world at this scale. And we were, prior to the tech being implemented and developed, we were building their product. It was the first time it had ever been done, and I'm brand new to this job.
So you're collecting the data, what the client wants, and
I was building.
insurance.
So I was building the insurance product to fit to this new system that they needed, right? And I had a guy that was a former underwriter that was kind of my manager on this project. Super cool guy, lives in Chicago. John Camp. He looked out for me. He let me do my thing. But doing that and them seeing like how much I know about insurance products without consulting experience, that led me to just get like, and sometimes in our group, people wouldn't be what's called staffed. Like, they wouldn't get assigned a project. I was billable all the time. I would get done and I would be at the next project the next week. Maybe I had a week off, maybe. And I was doing things from like tech implementations to building new products to corporate strategy stuff to governance, right? Like, I'm sitting with executives of insurance companies at 26.
So you're not worried how you're going to get paid. You know you're in the right environment and you
learn. Yeah.
To learn.
Right. So I spent 14 to, I think I left there in 17. So yeah, it was about 3 years. And I had just went from project to project, and I was getting to the point where I had this specialization and I wanted to get paid for it. Right. Because of what I was
before that, you were like an intern or like
No, I was getting paid, but I wanted
to get paid.
Correct. What I deserved, right? So and I also, there were some dynamic politics within consulting is huge. And I do not like playing politics. I'm going to show up, I'm going to do my thing, I'm going to do it well, but I don't want to have to stroke your ego because you have 10 more years experience than I do. What's the point? We're a team, right? That goes back to my sports days, right? You do your thing, I do my thing. But I've made EY, like the people that knew that about me have turned into lifelong friends. Like, seriously, I have 4 or 5 people from EY that I talk to on a consistent basis because we just get each other, right? And they know that's how I work. They know I'm a little crazy. They know I'm a smart ass. But they know when shit hits the fan, I'm going to be a soldier, right? Like, I'm going to be at the front of the pack. And they saw that even though I was younger than all of them. But yeah, I left there and I had 3 job offers. So I had one.
Without applying?
No, I applied, but 2 reached out. 2 reached out, I would say. One I applied for. One was to be the COO of a large insurance brokerage here in Illinois. And that was 2017, so I was 29. One was to be a subject matter expert for the largest in commercial insurance for probably the largest tech company that focuses on insurance in the world. And then the other one was McKinsey.
Okay, so you left Ernst & Young. At that point, 2017. Are you rich?
Yeah, and because they paid me more than double what I was making. More than double.
Okay.
Like
because you asked for, or because you did a job and you got appreciated?
Yeah, because I'm actually 2 of those 3 jobs were double what I was making. And I tried to tell, my people at EY, like, you need to pay me. Like, my skill set is not one that you're going to find again. And I still kind of got that, oh, you're young, be patient. Like, I can be patient with certain things, but I'm putting in the time over here to study things and understand things and get our clients in a better position. And they're asking for me, right?
Okay, so you have your clients in Ernst & Young that asking for that insurance.
They're asking for me to be on their project.
Okay.
So when I was at EY, I accepted the job at McKinsey, but I hadn't started yet. And one of my clients called me, one of the clients from EY, and he was like, "Hey, I'm leaving. Do you want my job?" Like, to run product for an insurance company when I was 29 years old. What
does that mean? Run product for the
so
insurance?
Like product development. So build their new coverages, set up their forms, get their forms filed with the states, look at their rates, right? And how their rates interact with their predictive analytics, and consult with the actuaries on what we should be doing for pricing, what kind of emerging things are happening in our industry where we need new insurance products.
So you're running the business.
I'm not underwriting, right? I'm not sitting there assessing risk, but I'm building the products that policyholders eventually buy, right? So I have this special thing, and again, it goes back to really, when someone talks, I listen, right? And I consume and I think and I put my own kind of perspective on it. So that's why I say, like, I will go toe to toe just overall commercial insurance with anyone in this world, except, Gail McGiffin's going to kick my ass, but because of that, it's not like an ego thing. Yes, I'm smart, but it's more, I can learn this from this person. I can learn this from this person. I can learn and take it all together and then do it this way. Right?
Okay. How your day was looking at that moment when you were learning and you were successful already? Like, what did you do different? Did you go take vacations? Did you go? No. Like, what was your main focus? Work. And
getting to a point where I could have freedom, right? And I could have the life that I wanted, and not, because when you talk about money, right? People that you get to a point where you can live how you want to live and you don't have to think about budgeting and all of that stuff, right? The way that I look at it is, the more work that I put in, it's not about spending or having nice shit. It's more about, I don't have to worry about money when I go to sleep at night. Right? So then I can think about how to create in business, how I can better myself, how I can better people around me, how I can focus on my relationships, be a father, right? Like, and so that was when I kind of got to that point when I got to McKinsey. I wasn't there for long. I actually, in between EY and McKinsey, I bought my first company. At 29, I bought a gym.
Okay.
It's an Anytime Fitness franchise. It was one of the largest ones in the country.
How much it cost you to buy it? You don't want to say.
No.
Okay, but you were looking on certain budget to buy a business, or you were looking to buy a gym? What was your...
A business.
You were looking to buy a business?
A business,
and what was your... when you were looking to buy the business, what was the numbers you were looking at? The gross?
Gross, EBITDA. We could spend an entire day talking about business valuations, because buying and selling companies is like one of my passions, right? And
that's the other thing right now. If you inherit some money and you don't know what to do with them, and you end up having tons of money, let's say it this way, people are looking for businesses and they don't know what to look for.
Of course.
So that's gonna be our next show.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
So it's in Vermont. My business partner out east, he's from the town, and we were looking at the numbers, and gyms, especially here in Illinois, your biggest cost is real estate, it's rent. In Vermont, it's not that expensive. and then just the demographics of the town in terms of size, people makeup, the gym strategy. I mean, it was a no-brainer. And so
So where did you look for the business? I'm sorry for interrupting.
my business partner, he was the one who heard about the opportunity.
It was on a website.
No, he kind of heard about it through
Okay.
people in the town where he was from.
Where do you look for business now to buy?
Now I really don't look.
Because there is like a Biz by Chicago.
People
or
come to me now
People come to you because
Yeah.
you're an investor.
as an investor or an idea or whatever. And so sometimes I will go out and look on those websites. I used to a lot more just to kind of understand. I would look at like purchase prices versus EBITDA versus revenue in the industry and things like that, to get a good sense of what it was. Never really pulled the trigger on anything there. But I'll look sometimes to see if there's any just unicorns out there, right? But here's something that it's a dangerous game buying companies, because if it's for sale for a reason.
Obviously. You either want to get retired. There's people that make a business from scratch and just sell it. They don't want to run it.
Right, of course.
Like, that's another thing. It cannot be just...
But again, you put yourself in there. If you're not working and say you're making $500,000 a year and it's running itself, why would you sell it?
Yeah.
If you're doing nothing, right, you go back to that effort. So that's what I talk about when I'm quiet. I'm reading people to kind of uncover why the hell are you walking away from this?
They're going to say it themselves.
Fine. But I'm going to watch their nonverbals. I'm going to watch if they're fidgety. I'm going to watch if they're sweating.
But in this case, do you meet the owner or you meet the agent? Because they have agents that they sell.
Perfect, but I would never buy a company without meeting the owner.
Okay.
And getting my own perspective on them.
Reading the person.
Mm-hmm. So that's turned into a pretty good business. COVID kind of hurt us, but obviously the government helped out with that. And it runs itself. Only thing I really do for that is just strategic decisions around, should we buy equipment? Should we lease equipment? What do our financials look like? What's our cash position? Because that's the stuff that I don't even have to think about. You can give me an income statement. You can give me a balance sheet. I'm not an accountant, but I can give me 2 minutes and I'm going to see what's off. I just know what's off, right? You go back to me knowing numbers. I know those very well. So bought that, was working at McKinsey. My ex, her father's best friend, his name is Fred Beyer. He was kind of a mentor to me in the insurance game. And he owned a brokerage for 30 years. And he passed away. I was in Baltimore, Maryland when I was working with McKinsey, and I talked to him on a Tuesday night, and I was supposed to meet him at his office maybe on Thursday because he was in Texas with his daughter. And because I had built this new artificial intelligence quoting system for brokers when I was at McKinsey. So
reading the data of the entire insurance industry.
No, so say you want to go get a quote for business insurance. I had helped build this portal that pulls in so much pre-filled data to where it might take 5 minutes to get something that you don't have to go through underwriting. You don't have to go. So he's like, yep, I'll see you Thursday. He passed away the next day.
How he did that? Heart attack. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Rest in peace.
Great man. I wish he was here today just to kind of help out with the current situation, because he would smooth things over for sure. But he always had talked about me buying his brokerage when he was done. But when I got the job at McKinsey, his daughter had worked there, and he was like, you just wrote your ticket. You'll be an executive of an insurance carrier within 7 years. You'll be 37, 38, making a couple mil a year. I'm like, I know, right? I knew how big that transition was for me. But at the same time, the kids were getting older. I was traveling 200 nights a year for 4 years straight. And I was like...
Where did you travel?
To meet up with my clients when I was a consultant.
Your clients are
all over.
All around the states.
Mm-hmm.
Do you insurance out of states?
Right now, yeah. I have some customers out of the state. For sure. New York, Colorado,
so what do you
Texas.
insurance? Insurance people or businesses?
Businesses.
where the money are in the insurance? Are they in the house insurance or in the car insurance?
No,
or
business insurance.
business insurance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, business insurance.
So it's like a life insurance for the person, but for the entire business?
So it's not life insurance. It's like liability insurance, workers' comp, cyber insurance, property insurance. I'll talk more about like that in a little bit. We'll dive back into like the kind of the transition to buying buyer. So I went and I met with Fred's son, who is a world-class opera singer, great guy. And he was freaking out, like, what am I going to do? You know? And so I went and met with him, and I was like, I have friends that work here and here. I can help you sell the business to them. And then he was like, well, do you want to buy it? And I'm like, sure, but I can't pay more than this. Done.
So you started negotiating and he sold it
He said
to you.
done.
Nice. Why he sell it? You know, like there's always a reason.
So because he didn't know what to do, right? And he's not like, and in commercial insurance, you have to know how it works, right? It's very, very complex. And, you know, I'd say at the time, 25% of the book of business was my ex's family too, right? So, being able to keep that, you know, obviously added, you know, kept some value to the business. I will tell you that was a 6-figure purchase. It was in 6 figures. It was upper end. And I sold it at the end of 2021 for 8 figures.
Nice.
Like mid 8 figure. Yeah.
So you developed the business. And
So,
somebody reach out to you, or you are ready to sell?
No, so the time at Buyer was very, you know, my first year so I never sold insurance before I bought it. And so I had to learn the operations and the technology and the people, right? So the first year we grew a little bit in the first year in terms of top line revenue.
How long it take you to grow to make it from the where you buy it to the where you sell it? How long it take you?
It took me, it was April 2018 when I bought it, and I sold it December of 2021, so less than 4 years.
Less than 4 years, you add 2 more digits. Nice.
Yeah, so I basically, when I bought it, there was like, I think like 4 million of premium there. That's not revenue, that's premium, right? So we get a commission on that. When I sold it, it was like 20 million in premium.
Nice.
So what I found out in that first year, like I figured out the ops, I figured out the technology, I figured out my people and my carriers, right? And what they want to underwrite, what they like. So late in 2018, my buddy from college, Gabe Malavolte, he's my business partner too, my other best friend. He was working at PwC as a international tax guy. He's brilliant, right? And he had started an insurance brokerage with his father-in-law, Gary Rabine, who ran for governor, and he owns like the biggest parking lot paving company in the country. In 2000, I want to say it was right before I went to McKinsey. And he's like, we can pay you this, we'll give you this much equity. I'm like, dude, I'm about to go work at McKinsey. Like, no. So they hired someone to run that brokerage, and he approached me about buying us. So again, cool, sounds great. I probably would have made a couple $1 million in 6 months off of the sale. But I read the man when we were talking, and just his demeanor was, yeah, you'll come work for me. I'm like, I don't think you know insurance like I do. Like, I'm not going to work for you. You know, if you want to do this, you go do your thing and I will run the business, right? Because I know how to run a business. And I just happen to know insurance front to back. So I meet with Gabe, I call him, and I'm like, all right, we're going to do this, but you're coming to me. You're coming to work here. Yeah. You personally, you're going to leave PwC.
Yeah.
And you're going to fold into Buyer. And I'm going to give up equity in the company for you to acquire your book of business. And from that point, with his network, my network, and Gary's network, and then people are like, holy shit, like, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's really fucking cool. And he can help us outside of securing insurance. Like, he understands my business. If I have a problem with operations or technology, I can call Steve. You don't find that insurance salesman, right? Right now, one of my biggest insurance customers, he's went from 3 million in revenue into 40 plus in 2 years. I talk to him every day. Hey, I've got this. It's not insurance. It's like, hey, what should I do to automate this? Hey, I'm having this issue with supply. That you don't find in my business, right? So that is why you get that like level of trust that most people find with their accountant. As an insurance person, we were a rocket ship. And I'm not talking, I have multiple people pay over $1 million a year for their insurance. They're huge.
So huge companies. So how small guy, like a small company, how we compete through
with the big
State
players?
Farm and Allstate.
Those are underwriting companies, right? Those are actual insurance companies. I just own an insurance brokerage. So my big competition would be like Aon and Willis and Marsh. And what it is, right? When you get to those size of brokers, those companies are working with 10 people. They go to one person for claims. They go to one person for this. Whereas you get my cell phone number, I can answer everything. Doesn't it? It makes it so much easier to do business that way. And I have more business knowledge than people selling insurance at those bigger places.
Yeah, by the time you reach out to the right person, it may take you 1 week. By the time you reach out to me, it's going to take you 1 click.
1 click. That's it.
I'm your guy.
That's it. Like I said, I will go up to. Now, there are things I don't know, like some of these really big brokerages, they do things that I don't play in, right? It's out of my wheelhouse. But like property and casualty insurance, small, medium-sized businesses, like there's nobody better. And that's not an ego thing. That's just based on my knowledge. And, excuse me. And so that's how we scaled, right? We tap into networks. You know, I have a big network in real estate in Chicago. I love cars, obviously, so I do insurance for some race-related things. You find, and then you start building relationships with people, and then you start getting referrals, right? The last 2 clients I signed up, there's this gentleman who has a very unique challenge with insurance because he's like a manufacturing guy, but he has like 15 cars, and he'll take clients to race, and you know, some of them are personal, some of them are business, and there's this and I figured it all out. And his attorney's like, holy shit, we couldn't find anybody to do this. We hop on the phone, it took me 15 minutes. And then, and he's an attorney. He had 2 calls in the last couple months. We just can't figure out on our insurance. And guess who we sent him to?
You know what I love about that job? You provide service. You provide consulting. You are just the middleman who take the percentage of the deal or whatever, like their cut, instead of building the product. I mean, obviously, insurance is a product.
I know how to do that. It's good. I mean, it's good and it's bad, right? I am the middleman, but the thing is, most people do what I do, take orders, right? This is what I want. And I'm like, like I take the time to figure out your business. No, this is what you need, okay? And I'm going to tell you, outside of when you become my customer, if you need help with anything, if you need to raise money, call me. I've got access to capital. I know people who have capital. I know people in your industry that could put you in touch with to get more sales, get more, whatever it is. And so it goes back to that advisor thing of like to have that trust. You're right. Like being a true advisor as an insurance, I don't think there's many people out there that do that. I have friends that are insurance brokers.
How much of your success is based on luck?
Luck,
no look.
Luck. I mean, I would say my luck. You know.
Look. Obviously, people just by the cover, but lucky.
No, I mean, there are certain deals that you get lucky on. Not a lot,
but based like
work, knowledge, effort.
You got to the right people by the age of 24 because you end up doing the things that nobody want to do.
Correct. And then just taking a leap of faith, right? Like jumping into being a consultant
so maybe
with no experience, but then figure it the fuck out, right? Buying a gym. I worked out since I was 12 for football, but
maybe that's the thing. Do the thing, that's the lesson I'm going to learn from this conversation. Do the thing that nobody want to do. and learn how to do it, and you're gonna be able to be the only guy
selling
who knows
insurance.
that.
Selling insurance is not sexy, right? Now, I will say the type of insurance that I do, I have so many interesting stories about shit that I've seen from claims or lawsuits and all of that, or that people would find fascinating, right? And I really look at insurance as a gamble. I really, really do. Like, and I love it. I love insurance. Do I love selling it? No. But I care about the people I sell it to, and I love learning about their businesses. Okay? So
does every business need insurance?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love it.
So here's something that this was kind of a shift in my perspective, because as a consultant, right, I was flying every week. I'd have a car service pick me up. I was in a fancy suit. I was in boardrooms, staying in nice hotels, great meals. So I'll never forget this. I go to pick up a customer in Kankakee, and I went to go meet with him. Bob Eaton, he's an amazing man. He passed away a couple years ago. His wife still runs the company. So, guy, his beard was down to here. He had a cut-off T-shirt on, cut-off shorts, work boots, right?
Rock and roll.
No, not just kind of like he had a little farm, loved his, just very simple. And he owns it's kind of a machine shop, but they have one product that they build. I think he had like 15 employees. So to get a quote for his insurance, I need to know his top line revenue. And so I asked that question. I'm like, Bob, I'm just curious. Like, I love to learn. What's your margin on that? It was a lot. Okay. And so I'm sitting here like, okay, so I've done all this cool shit. Like, I felt awesome, this sexy lifestyle, all this shit. And now I'm sitting across from a guy who has done very well for himself, and he can never tell.
Yeah, by the look.
But he's very smart, and he developed relationships, and his customers knew if they needed something in an hour, Bob Eaton would show the fuck up, and Bob Eaton would get it done, right? And he did that for so many years. And that really gave me the opportunity to sit back and be like, you know what? This is fascinating, right? With business, right? There's money in everything. Everything, okay? You just need to figure out who's going to buy it from you and how to run that business profitably. Like I said on the last podcast I was on, for the right amount of money, I will start a company picking up dog shit. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't, right? If it's fascinating, it would be fascinating to figure out, because you'd have to have people working for you, the right logistics on how to be efficient and what's the right marketing strategy? How are you going to find people with dogs? Like,
yeah,
that people don't think about business that it's like, what, that's beneath me. Like, nothing's fucking beneath me.
Leave the ego aside.
Always. Ego and insecurity, I swear to you, they're the biggest downfalls in business. And I've seen it from a lot of people. And if I get that feeling from someone that I'm going to pick up as a customer on the insurance side or the accounting firm that I own, me and both of my partners were very much like, we're walking away from this. We don't want to deal with headaches, right? We don't want someone who wants us to be their bitch because they have an ego. And sorry for the word bitch, whatever you want to call it. But like, I want someone to understand the value that I bring them, and because I understand the value that they bring me. And when you can just look at business that way and relationships as value added, ego's gone, right? So, but Bob, that opened my eyes up so much, and I'll never forget that meeting, because from that day on, every time I picked up, and I was on infancy stage, I was doing it for 6 months at that point, where we were just growing little bit by little bit, and taking that approach to pick up customers that are paying $1 million a year or $600,000-$700,000. Like, I went and I learned their business front to back.
You should be their friend, the advisor, not only for insurance, but they have to give you all the numbers.
Not every business type, but it's more like operations, like and insurance is always kind of, hey, this happened. What do you think? Hey, we have this employee, right? I get so many more of those calls now.
So don't you have someone that already is responding the phone calls and you're just giving them advice to these guys?
So I have 5 people that work for me at the insurance brokerage. They're more service-based stuff. And I've kind of they handle a lot of the small business stuff. They do a lot of processing type of work, managing the customer base. But when it gets down to the nitty-gritty of, hey, this happened, what do you think our exposure is? Those calls only come to me. And it's because there's a trust, right? Like when you have that advisor, you don't want to call their number 2. Because they'll find someone probably not as good as me, but someone that's not going to pawn them off. And there are even small business customers. On the way up here, I took a call from a customer who might pay $1,500 a year, but they're having a major life event change. And nobody else would know how to answer the questions they had besides me. So of course I'm going to, but that's one phone call I've had in the last 3 years with them. So it's really understanding where you're adding value and empowering your employees to do their shit too, so that they can learn and grow. So, and that's always been I was talking about Gabe earlier, right? Gabe came to Buyer. Gabe has these relationships, but he's not an insurance guy. Gabe's a tax guy. He's a lawyer. He adds value to our customers. And without him, we would have never exited where we did. And not just like on the business side, on the personal side, Gabe he's made me such a better person and gave me strengths that I think he knows, but he didn't know how impactful it was at the time. But he was getting bored. So we were like, okay, what can we do to help add value to the insurance agency and empower Gabe to go create something? We bought an accounting firm.
Oh, you continue buying companies now.
Yeah. So and Gabe and I are different. I like to run stuff lean. Gabe's more of, how do I get to, he's not about taking profits out of the business, right? And for personal. He's more like, I want to take that money. I want to hire somebody else. I want to take this money and hire someone. Yeah, he's a big reinvest, big picture guy.
Get the market share.
Correct.
Okay.
So we've had, at the CPA firm, we've had great growth there. He's made some very, very, very great hires. He actually lives in Puerto Rico 6 months out of the year for,
Because why not?
Yep. And he's about to have his 4th baby. He's crazy, but him and AJ are just phenomenal men, and great friends, and just always they know me so well. They look out for me. When I need to be told to do something, they'll tell me. I don't even have to ask. They just know. That was fun. That was an awesome thing because I know how smart he is. I know how driven he is. I know how great he is. So it was fun to be able to do that with him. We're going back to just kind of Buyer and our growth. It was insane. This past year, even though I felt like I had my foot off the pedal a little bit. Like historically looking, Buyer Insurance back in the day, there were 4 partners that worked there, 4 of me, like salespeople. And their best year ever, they never did as much revenue as I did last year between 4 people. I did it all. And Gabe is now not active in the business because he's running the CPA firm. So we know what the hell we're doing, right? So, but we were, and one day, we talk about building a tech company. The next day, I'm like, I just want to buy a bunch of real estate and just fucking retire, right? Or then we go back to the idea, because I love deals. I love mergers and acquisitions. Because if somebody's at a table, it can always get done. Right? You just got to have give and take and get the ego out. That's why I love deals, or starting my own consulting company, advising on deals and operations and strategy. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do in the future. I really don't.
So when we start talking about the future, your personal future, you don't know what's your next step it will be. But what do you think about the insurance business in the next 5 years, let's say this?
So I think eventually the home and auto sales, right? Like what a lot of people get into insurance to sell, it's going to go away. The brokerage side, I think there's so much investment. It's already happening, just like digital sales. Like I envision in the future when I go buy my Whole Foods order off of Amazon, I'm going to get a pop-up auto insurance quote. They have all my data. My credit card's already in there. Here's your quote. Click, boom, done. Your address is this. The and they're going to integrate with Zillow or whoever, find the square footage, run their replacement cost estimator. Here's your limit of insurance. Here's your quote. Because we already know, like, based off of your spending and your credit limits, like, it's going to be that easy for that. Now, business insurance, what I do, I think in my career, it's never going to get there. Now, here's why. So as a consultant, I was working on this thing to go direct to consumer, small business owner. And I think it can happen, and it's going to happen for somebody who's paying $500, $600, $700 a year. It's not complex. You need an office policy. You might need professional liability. But where I play out right now as a broker, middle market stuff, some national accounts, you need an advisor because the marketplace is complex. The coverages are complex. The rating methodologies are complex.
So you talked about AI, the product that you built by collecting some data.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think this data will be collected with the business too, based on their previous sales and previous operations?
How accurate is that data, though? That's what people are running into. Because insurance is different from any kind of other financial product. It's underwritten based off of exposure, right? So payroll. But it's not just overall company payroll. If we own a construction business, you're a carpenter, I'm a salesperson, our payroll might be $200,000. There's no data out there to show that you're taking $100,000, but you're swinging a hammer. I'm taking $100,000, I'm just driving my car around doing sales. There's different pricing for us.
Okay.
So, and that data doesn't exist. I mean, it kind of does. There's a database out there from this company called NCCI that's kind of the governing body of workers' comp. But that it's not always accurate, right? If you hire 3 people in the middle of a year to work with you, and now our payroll's $300,000,
Yeah,
like
where did that come from? Like they don't have the data?
They don't have the data.
Okay.
So that's on us to like do. Now, and there's standardization of data in commercial insurance. It's not strong, right? So some company might underwrite based off of payroll, some might underwrite based off of revenue. So there's no consistency. And there's no database to look at historical, people talk about claims, right? With home and auto, there's a database where you can look at claims history. Commercial, you can't. There's no single repository for that. So if I stay, this deal with Acrisure that I did, like I said, I have 2 more years left. And after that, depending upon where I'm at and just if I want to chill a bit more, I might still just be an insurance broker because my network's there, right? I'm at a point where people just are coming to me now. I don't have to go chase business. And I can have a nice life and work 20 hours a week. And
That's called retirement.
Yeah.
That base called retirement.
I kind of already felt like that last year. I was like semi-retired, actually. Or I go after the big thing, tech, right? And there's so many people getting into insurance technology, trying to figure things out. They don't know insurance. That's what I'm struggling.
So they know tech, they don't know insurance.
They know
sales, they don't know insurance.
They know tech, they know insurance, but the overall macro landscape of commercial insurance, they're just not putting it together, right? So I won't dive into the details of it, but there's this concept in the back of my head that I know how to build. And I know I can raise the money to build it. I know I could get a huge value. I just don't know if I want to work that hard.
Well, yeah, but what would you do your entire life? Like for me, life is learning through the day you die.
Yep.
Which putting yourself in the position you have to do new things and learn from the beginning. So that may be
being a dad.
Being a dad, it's
so important. So and watching my kids already grow, right? There are things I've had to miss. for various reasons that I don't want to miss. So I want to have the flexibility for that. Venture into new things, industries that I haven't been in, right? Even if I say I'm semi-retired, like I'm still going to do deals. I might do a consulting project every now and again, like, things to just keep my mind active. It's not like I'm going to stop learning. It's just more about how much effort and grind I want to put in. And if I go for that big concept, like it would be game changing for the entire industry. But I just don't know if I want to put in that much effort anymore. Because I've, from the age of freaking 12, right? Like I was cutting grass with my dad. Had like perfect grades. I played 3 sports. I worked, even in high school playing sports. Like it was school, it was sports, it was work. And then college, it was football, it was school. In the summer, I had to work to save money for school. And as soon as I got out of college, I just hit the ground running. So I've been hustling for years, even at 34, right? Like most people take their 20s to party, get a good job, go to the bar. I spent my 20s just figuring shit out.
That's what you spend in 20s, just figuring shit out. So you 30s you can build and
yeah, of course.
live on your.
I love real estate, right? Like my condo that I have, I designed all of it. I did some of the work myself, but
So you like designing, you like art. You say you're gonna learn how to play guitar or
drums. Come on, I want to grow my hair out long.
So for like that and like an example of successful men, let's wrap up this podcast with your advices of what would you give as advice of the people who are 20s or they are just teenagers and try to learn and try to be successful.
First thing, and we've touched on learning so much, you can learn something from everyone. It can be good or bad, honestly, right? Like, but you got to listen. There's not enough people in this world that listen because they always want to get their thoughts out. It always has to be their way. They got to push something onto someone. When you listen, you find opportunity. It's my biggest piece of advice. Number 2, only compete with yourself. When you worry about others, you get distracted, right? Social media stuff and all of that.
It's a sound. It's just a noise.
It's noise. It's noise. I'm on and off of Instagram. I go on Instagram to look at watches. I go on Instagram to look at real estate, funny sports stuff. I have Twitter. I look at Twitter for news, but mine's focused for me. It's football. It's rap music. It's right. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Fun things.
Yeah. So it's not like I'm scrolling my timeline. I'm going to my search page, seeing what's going on, spending 5 minutes there and getting back to myself. Right. If I want to be distracted, I'm going to listen to music, right? So I can feel something. Me, personally, I'm not worried about what other people are doing. If someone has more money, cool. Are you happy, right?
So enjoy the moment.
Enjoy the moment, live. And again, that's something that, like, even in my 20s, I still lived in the moment, even though I was hustling, trying to figure shit out. I found fun in that. I find fun in learning. It goes back to the learning thing. Fun for some people is going out and partying and that's cool. Do your thing. If that makes you happy, I tell, like, be happy. And it doesn't have to be every aspect of your life, right? But those aspects that you're not happy in, find a way to get better. It doesn't have to be perfect. Life is never going to be perfect. Just get better, right? And you get better from learning, listening, and not worrying about what other people are doing. I would also say, you talked about it earlier, like, figure out something about that you can do that other people don't. And for me, with my personality and my brain, and like, I became fascinated with insurance, and I kind of put my lens on it, right? So transacting business with me is completely different than you're going to find. Right? It's not order taking. It's not bullshitting. It's transparency. This is what it is. Don't like it? Sorry. And just being upfront about that stuff is key, right? Surround yourself with people who are going to hold you accountable until you can hold yourself accountable.
That's so, like, I know when I say something, I have to follow it up. Otherwise, I regret I said because I'm not doing it. So it's either be quiet and don't do anything, or when you say it loud and people hear you, they're going to keep you accountable for what you say. So you better do it. So surround by the people that are going to keep you accountable.
See, that's also why on this, like, you asked me what's in the future. I could say, oh, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. Like,
yeah,
what if I wake up and I don't want to do it one day? Right? Like that, I just know myself that well, like, and there's so many different things going on in my life that, like, sometimes I don't have the energy to do it. So, but that, when you can, like, especially if you're going to be a business owner, you have to hold yourself accountable, right? And you have to understand this is something that I know even some of my good friends that are CEOs as well, struggle with. Like, yes, sometimes you need to get out of your business, but you can't get out of your business. When I say get out, like, let your machine run, unless you know down to what, like, every second what's going on. When you understand it, you can step out, because when something's off, you're going to know exactly where to go.
So micromanage, or?
No, not micromanage. Study your business. It's not your people, right? Your people, you need to empower and teach and let them find their value and what they want to be at your company. Don't micromanage, right? Like, that is, I'm saying, like, your operations. You might know where an employee's lacking. So when you give them advice and tidbits, you need to have that kind of theme in there to make them believe in themselves, or let them subtly know where they should focus at to get better. Not let them do it on their own, right? Control is also a bad thing, right? Like, people will, if you're not controlling people, they're either going to sink or swim. And when they swim, you know, like, you've got somebody who has your back that can do their job. So what I mean by understand it down to the second is, you just need to know what's going on, right? So when something is off,
you know why it's off.
You know why it's off.
Okay.
Going back to surround yourself with people that are going to hold you accountable. So I'm in a CEO networking group. Very blessed to be in there. I'm the youngest guy in there. I'm probably,
it's like a mastermind group.
Yeah, it's called Vistage. And I was fortunate enough.
What you guys do there?
So we help each other out. We're kind of like each other's board members, and we have speakers that focus on a lot of things related to business, right? But it's not just business and numbers, right? It's how you carry yourself, how you think about your people, and you think about life and understanding yourself and who you are, right? Self-awareness is huge. I mean, understanding who you are is going to set you up so well. So this group does a good job of that, and we all kind of fit into our roles. I think I'm the only non-found. So one's a CEO, but he doesn't own the company, but he has the biggest organization. I'm the only non-founder. Everybody else was founded. They created, but I'm the consultant for the group, right? Like, you need something fixed, call me.
Call Steve Foster.
Right. And then I'm going to take the time to understand what your challenge is. And it's not like I wanted to be that. It's just, that's kind of the role. And I'm kind of the gunslinger too, right? Like, I'm young, I'm hungry, and these guys, their businesses are bigger than mine in terms of employee count, probably revenue, all of that. But I have experience doing more deals than almost all, not all, but a lot, right? Like buying and selling and stuff like that. So, you know, we've had people in our group that have had major exits, like, puts mine to shame.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, of course. I'm so happy for. They're great. I'm surrounded by great people.
How can you end up being in this group? Like, did you guys?
You have to get invited, yeah. And so I was very fortunate, because usually a business of my size, you go into like a small business group, but because of my background, my experience, and the fact that I have multiple companies, and it's very hard to find an insurance person that understands business very well. they welcomed me with open arms, and it's been life changing.
Is it a membership that you have to pay? Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have some ring or some signs that you have to wear?
No, not at all. No, I'm telling you, man, it's not. That's the thing is like it's one of those groups where you can just truly be yourself, and you can get very personal in there. You know, I've talked about so much personal stuff related to my kids and everything in there. And
what's the biggest advice you got from this group that you never forget?
Don't apologize for being yourself. Just be who you are, right? And people are going to, especially people that, what we talk about, seeing value in business and one another and your relationships and the people you surround yourself with. That people, when you're yourself, if they still gravitate towards you, that's who you want in your circle, right? And in my group, like I'm covered in tattoos. I am the first person I said to her, like, I'm different in the field. I don't fit the mold. And I love that about myself. I'm not going to change who I am, but they welcomed me with open arms, right? Because they saw that I could bring value to the group, that I'm a good human.
So you're changing their perspective of judging people by the
They don't judge. That was the thing. They don't judge.
Nice.
They don't. I mean, I can call anyone in this group and talk about anything, right? Or we can joke about crazy shit. You know, my chair, Mike Lawson, he had a very, very successful manufacturing business that he sold a while back. And he's a Vistage coach. He just started a new, like, kind of consulting company related to entrepreneurs operating system. He's a speaker. Mike's turned, like, he's been like semi-retired for a long time. He's one of my closest friends now. He's in his 60s. He has kids my age.
And when you are in this group of people, do you have, like, before the next meeting, you have to do something? Let's say you have a homework of reading some book and discuss
yeah. So
it,
when you haven't, like, people, there are issues that pop up in our businesses all the time, right? And we're there for one another, right? To just get people to think outside the box, right? Or because when you're in your business every day, you don't, sometimes you get set in your way of thinking, right? So, excuse me, and they're there for support. You know, my mom I just found out in December had breast cancer. She has breast cancer. It just got removed, or it might have been November, but they cut it out completely. But we talk about that stuff, and then, you know, this person in the group, their wife had it, or their mom had it, or their sister, or, right? And you're talking people from so many different backgrounds, and we have construction people, we have logistics, we have manufacturing, we have real estate.
Is it only men?
In our group, yes, but our chair's been no, the Vistage is not. Our chair's been looking for women to join, right? Because I you know, like I said, when you really evaluate people for who they are, the gender thing, like, so we would love to have a woman.
What you have to have so you can be a woman and be part of this group?
Nothing. You just
like,
need. Well,
you're saying, like, some kind of sold your business.
No,
some couple of $1 million.
No, it's not about money. It's just about having the right size of business. And I know Mike's been looking for to add a woman to, because she's going to give better perspective.
Of course.
Something very interesting about me, and just seeing my daughters too, like, kind of come into themselves. I say this all the time. If you put every skill and my knowledge that I have, and you make me a woman, she's going to be a better business leader than I am. 100.
We definitely need women in life to see different perspective.
And the nurturing component, whereas I'm probably more like, do this, do that, like, right? Like, just very fact-based, just it is what it, and so, like, it would be, I think our group would benefit from it so much. I really do. So if there's anybody out there that owns a business in the Chicago area and you're a woman, like, come join our group, please. Like,
what about this insurance lady?
Gail?
Gail's
retired. She's not really an entrepreneur. Well, I think she started her own consulting company, but she's retired. I mean, she lives in Jersey too.
Okay. So you have to be based in Chicago.
For our group, yeah, because we meet once a month, or like the Chicagoland area. We meet once a month in person. You have one-on-one with your Vistage chair. And it's very funny. I think back, you know, when I first started, Mike, when we did our one-on-ones, would make me fill out this form about what's going on with everything. And it turned into just so conversational. Like he knows, I know exactly if I have an issue, what it is, how I fix it. So now when we get together for our one-on-ones, it's mostly personal. How are your kids? Mike, how are your kids doing? How are your grandkids? Like what's going on? And then we'll talk business a little bit, but you know, I'm very much open about, and I also have I have smaller employee counts. A lot of people in our group, they have a full executive team that reports to them. And then sometimes, you know, 50, 100 people under that executive team, right? So they have to get more thought-provoking with Mike than I do. But it's been such a great thing. And Gabe, my business partner, was the one who suggested I join. And I got in because one of my other close friends in the group, he needed help, and I had just met him because he needed help with the bond. And I got the bond done, and we sat down, talked. He's like, "Oh, you do this, you do this. I have a friend in that industry, and then he just called Mike. He's like, "I think I have a candidate for our group." And I met with Mike, and it was like,
you gave me an idea. You know how now when you have a business partner or when you have some kind of client that you end up giving him a good service, you ask him for a recommendation.
Oh, see, so you
have to give, I'm going to ask from every guest in the show to give me a recommendation of contact that I can reach out to and invite my next guest. Maybe part of the group.
I will. You just got to let me know what topic you want to talk about. That's very funny in sales. You know, that's the old school sales pitch. Like, if you think I did a great job, you know, best thing you can do for me is give me referrals.
Yeah.
It's like, if I have to say that to you, I didn't do my fucking job, right? If I didn't knock your socks off, I don't have to, like, you're just going to talk about, I should be memorable. You should remember me.
Yes.
Right. And if you really had that great of an experience, the people that you surround yourself with, they're going to be like, holy, this guy's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to ask for, I never have. I don't ask for business.
If you want
to do business with me, that's your choice. Right. And as a salesperson, that confidence is so much more attractive than someone's like, you need to do this, or, you know, and I'll tell people what they need to do, but I don't do it in a way that's like pushy.
Yeah.
It's knowledge. It's like, I have seen this, I have seen this, I have seen this. This is why you need this. You don't want it, you're not going to be my customer. So it's funny, but with the podcast, I think that's a great idea. In terms of sales, it's never been my thing. But for a podcast,
I'm not trying to sell anybody. I'm trying to just make this. I capture the moment.
I know.
You can share that link with somebody else. You can hear yourself in 5 years.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts were. Like, it's just a nice memory.
You should. That's what I was saying, though. You should ask, right? But as like me doing sales, for me, that's a little.
It's old school, yeah.
But podcasts, right? That's like, all right, I had this interesting conversation with Steve. He touched on this. I want to talk to somebody about this. And just tell me what it is. I'll send somebody your way.
Thank you very much.
Because I told you that's what I want to do if I start a podcast, like, you know.
And I will help you with setup, with cameras, with everything you need.
Yeah.
I've done that already. And if you like how the process is, I'll help you.
Or we just rebrand and become co-hosts.
I rebranded many times, you know, like, I don't mind it. I'm ready to move from this studio. I need something bigger, you know.
Yeah. No, it's nice
to invite more people.
I mean, really just walking in, it's a very nice setup. I like it a lot. But we'll just have to get it like a little more space so I can have my drum set there.
Okay.
So I can play drums to the intro of the podcast.
Yeah.
So that's I appreciate you having me, man. It's been fun. You know, the advice thing, it's, you know, take it for what it is, but it's definitely helped me. And it goes back, business is business, right? But when you really understand yourself, who you are, what your values are, and how you can impact people, that is when you become successful, right? It's not about money. It's not about it for me, right? The impact that I make is these people will build their life building a company. If I don't do my job, they could lose it like that. I have people that work for me that have been in the industry for a very long time, and they've been micromanaged, or they haven't been compensated in the way that I pay them just because I see their value. But that means I have to work harder to grow my company to be able to pay them that. And then just helping people, like just being selfless, right? And I know that I get a lot of gratitude about, I learned that from my parents so much. My dad could have taken so many promotions at work, but he wanted to focus on being a dad and making sure that I got a better life than he did. My mom has went through so much health issues, so many. And even going, the last couple months with the cancer thing, don't worry about me. How are you doing? I'm like, Mom, I'm a grown man now. And I have been through, I haven't been through health stuff like you have, but I've seen a lot of shit, a lot. And I've endured, and I just keep getting stronger and stronger. Let's focus on you, right? Let's worry about getting you better. So I get that from my parents a ton. And it's something that makes me happy. I know about myself, right? I know I'm very selfless. I know I love to give. And, but I also I know I love to have fun, right? So all the culture, the culture across all the companies that I'm involved in is like, do your thing, show up, do your job. But outside of that, do what you want to do, right? Like if you want more responsibility, tell me what it is that you want, but you better be ready for it. And when you take on more responsibility, you make more money. That's it, right? It goes back to that just thinking just so logically. And then I know that I'm a very logical person, so that's how I lead, right? And if you tell me, hey, I need 2 weeks off because take your 2 weeks, take as much time as you need. But just make sure that if something's critical, that we're aware of it, right? In terms of business, just make us aware. We'll handle it. Yeah. So that's how you get, as a leader, that's how you get people that will follow you into battle. And I told you earlier, people know that when shit hits the fan, I'm that guy that's at the front, always. And that's how I grew up. That's how I was raised. And you can do what, I love being underestimated. Right? That goes back to just that whole mentality of being quiet, listening, learning. Because when you learn, you're always putting yourself in a position. People don't know. They don't know what you've got inside of you.
Well, it's been a pleasure for you to be here in the studio, for being my guest. I know the audience enjoyed it. If you guys have something to mention, please comment below. Subscribe to our channel because Steve will bring more guests which are interesting to hear from them, and we may rebrand again. Who knows? Stay with us and have fun. That's what it's all about, having fun.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.